Okay, we're recording. Columbia River, nowhere near the Grand Coulee Dam. Just checking out the fingerprint pattern on the sand. It just occurred to me that that's kind of what fingerprints look like. That's probably better. Man. There's a very exclusive yacht club. It's so exclusive, there's only 2 yachts. Lots of fresh chemtrail above the real clouds. This is what our clouds used to look like here. Big, puffy, huge structures really close to the ground, moving over, looking like they're going to land and fall on top of you sometimes. Like if they were a big solid mountain, they'd just fall and crush you, but they just float along. That's what our clouds used to look like. Now they look like the wacky wailing inflatable arm flailing tube man clouds. See, there's structure, there's not structure. The not structure clouds, the chemical-laden aerosols, oddly enough, resemble a cancer X-ray. They look the same in the sky as they do inside flesh. Makes me sad. But detox yourself as much as you can. Standing in the water at the river, it helps a lot. I don't know, my feet are like almost normal again. Anyway. What's this guy doing? Coming in for a landing. There's some good mud down here. If I sound kind of melancholy, it's because my narcissist slash would-be girlfriend I've discovered is truly a textbook malignant female narcissist, and all the excuses and slack that I've given her, excuses that I've accepted, or whatever circumstances kept us from being able to be together. And finally, after enough time has gone by, well, some of those things have worked around so we could be together, and then there happened the other reason. I've come to the conclusion that I'm an empath, and I didn't know what that was for a long time. I only kind of started looking into that as a real thing in the last 5 years or so. But the descriptions feel right to me. I can sense other people's emotions, their emotional content, I guess. And when some people, not everybody either, it's not like a perfectly even sense I have that I can, there it is, like I'm looking at something. It's not quite that definite. It's like the people that I can sense it with, I sense it very well. In fact, their emotions will kind of override into my own, and if they're anxiety filled, I'll start to feel anxiety filled. Or if they're excited and happy, I'll start to feel excited and happy, and so I can really connect with people that I can feel in that way. However, they don't necessarily connect with me the same way. I noticed that. So empaths, have this sense of magnetic sense, auras perhaps, and since we have this connection, with most people, but not all people, some people I read a blank on, and those ones are kind of mysteries to me. So, anyway, when their emotions don't match their behavior, flag should go up for impact. Wait a minute, they're saying one thing, acting one way, yet I'm getting the sense that they're, really, whatever, keeping a secret or post something or have another agenda or whatever the case may be. If your gut tells you you're right about that, you're right about that. At least if you've determined you're an empath. I don't think it's ever been wrong. I want to deny it a lot of the times because, otherwise, somewhere you have to cut slack to people or you have no friends whatsoever. That gets really boring. I'm an introvert and I don't like being around people particularly or at all sometimes. But you've got to have the world stuff in it. There's nothing to do with home. This pandemic is just another removal of people's ability to connect. They're literally telling everyone to wear masks. It really prevents you from looking at each other even. And to be afraid that if someone's not wearing a mask, that they're going to be spreading this ridiculous bullshit. Right? Anyway, where was I? I think this is becoming my video about empaths and narcissists. But this will just be a prelude to it. How about that? Because I'm not sure that I have it all hammered out in my mind how I want to approach the subject. I guess I've done so far described some of why I feel like I'm an empath and what an empath is. If anybody's not sure, they can just look it up because there's a zillion videos on YouTube about empaths and narcissists nowadays. It seems to be an epidemic. Like narcissism off the hook. Narcissism unlimited. Yeah, so my would-be girlfriend is off and on 20 years. There's always been some extenuating circumstance or something where we couldn't make a go at being a couple at any specific time, and she'd kind of disappear, and then after, that was okay for the first, 10 years or so. But then there became situations and circumstances changed where that actually could be, and she'd show up for a little bit and then either just disappear in the middle of the night, basically, or ghost on me, or make up some bogus pretense for a fight, or act as if her troubled past and her traumas of her kids. Her kids died. They had heart conditions and twin boys, and they both died. So there's, I know some of her suffering and things she's went through is real, but the more I get to know over years and time, and she's not really forthcoming about things, the more I start to realize, well, yeah, that was a tragedy, but she's like guilty of a lot of intentional freaking hurt of not just me, of other people, many people, of everybody that's ever been close to her, basically. And I'm just, low-moving person. I'm not trying to pick up with people all the time. Check it out with them all the time. Who cannot? But if they're heterosexual. But as far as going out, there's nothing to do anymore anyway. Where do you go? What does go out mean? Go outside and go to the park? Because that's about the only place we'll find people, and half the parks are closed. What is there going to be? What venues will there be for humans to interact and meet besides online, which so far has proved to be on BS to me, which haven't really done anything for me. People kind of put on a persona online, it seems, dating things, and they have to be politically correct and socially appropriate instead of being how they really are. And so it comes off as a little bit fake to me, and I'm not good at being fake profile in order to, meet up with someone else who's, having to be fake in their profile because of social norms. Anyway, what the hell was that? So the narcissists, they're, I think empaths are drawn to them, and I think narcissists can spot the empath from a mile away based on, they're calculating, cold and calculating understanding of human emotions. They're ruled by emotions, but so much so that they're in complete denial of them, and they don't seem to have emotions. They tend to have emotions, but then they can also immediately do things that show that those emotions were just make-believe. They can act as if they, love you and could never ever imagine, doing anything that would make you sad, and then turn around and, give someone a blowjob in the bathroom while you're going to the store or something, and then come back and get a good laugh out of it, because that's what narcissists can do. Not that they all do that. Some of them do other things, underhanded, shady business deals, blatant manipulation of people, or if they can get away with it, or they work in groups to set people up who have things, and then they'll not let on they know each other, and so they'll play a person, back and forth amongst emotionally and mentally to mess with them until they get them discombobulated or whatever, and then, there's a zillion different scams that vampiric, parasite people like to engage in. And narcissists are all that. They're all about structure and order and rules, too. Because, if everybody obeys these rules that are specifically laid out, well, then they know exactly how they can, go between the lines and game everybody and not technically break any rules. And so they're in the right, and anyone who complains is in the wrong. And if you get upset about it, well, you're in the wrong, or whatever. Meanwhile, anything they can get away with, they will. Facebook is like the narcissist's wet dream. So, oh wow, I can have 4 Facebook accounts and slight variations, and keep all my little groups of people separate so none of them know each other. And this is my group of, of hardcore fuck buddies and dope fiends, and this is my group of church people that, I go and see on Sunday every couple of weeks. And this is my group of family members who I keep separate from those other 2 groups because my family knows things about me and I don't want them to know. And then there's the 4th group where this is where I do my business interactions with and those types of things, so that doesn't get, associated up with my personal endeavors. And that's kind of how narcissists operate. They got a multi-track system, and they keep, it's their perception management specialist. They kind of like base their own ego off of what they think other people think about them. And the thing is they're actually really good at figuring that out and projecting an image that is, what they think people are going to believe it is. And they can project it well. They seem very confident. They seem to not ever be shaken by anything, or throw a wrench in the works somehow, or have an emotional response, you can't control, and like, that they can control their emotions. And then they'll, look down on you for not controlling yours properly. But they can control their emotions, but they don't really have them. If you know somebody who just never is fazed by, whatever drama takes place, whatever emergency, they don't ever seem to get riled up about anything, they may be a narcissist. That's the one little subtle sign, is like the ability to stay cool in all situations, because they don't really care. It's just about themselves, but that's not socially acceptable, so they play it off as if, like act like a normal person, unless they're around people who are just like them, and they know it, and there's no one viewing them, or otherwise the mask is on. A narcissist can spot an empath a mile away. Empaths can sense that somebody needs to be loved, if somebody wants love, and they need it badly. Empaths are drawn to those people. They're like, they just sense their pain, and they're like, want nothing more than to help that person, on a fundamental, underlying, non-conscious level. It's like with my narcissist ex, just something made me drawn to her all the time. Some of it was physical. Okay, a lot of it was physical, but it wasn't all physical, and that will go away once the person has, left you high and dry and ghosted on you and lied about you and disappeared and made excuses for it later enough times. But then you get over it after a while. You're not so upset. You remember, how special that person makes you feel. Because narcissists love bomb. They'll show up and they'll say, I miss you so much. Oh my God, you believe in them. They'll tell you stories and they'll talk about things that you're interested in, and we all lovey-dovey, make you feel warm and fuzzy, tell you you're great and wonderful, and how'd they ever live without you, and you're putting icing on the cake and the cream of the crop, and that's for a little while, and then they get caught up in their own needs and wants and things they're doing, and give you less time. And if you ask for any time, they'll act as if you're being needy. It's like, for some reason, I'm being needy. You can get a bomb in the shed and your attention to, care about something, but that's certainly an issue. And then they give you the cold shoulder, and then they, making their plans for their next thing, which is going to be somewhere else with someone else. And they won't acknowledge that that's what they're doing, but so you can just hang out and have them stay with you, and you can, be ignored as they set up their next thing secretly, and if you don't want to be snoopy and like, hey, what's going on? Nothing. If you ask to say nothing, whatever, right? So, but all the while, you can sense that their emotional state is not matching the behavior. And that's how an empath knows, and then that will lead to, difficulties in relationships, right? And the other person is trying to be deceitful. You know it for a fact. They don't know it. You know it for a fact. Try and play it off, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, the narcissist can recognize the empath, and the empath is drawn to the narcissist. And there are a lot of empaths who don't even know what that means, and for myself, I thought that everybody experienced and felt the kind of things that I did. To me, that's normal, so I assume that everyone has the same senses. They all have eyes, they all have ears, they all have noses and tongues and skin, and they have those 5 senses. Why do they not have the emotional, whatever aura sense that an empath has? I think it has to do with DNA and family tree and toxins in the body and pineal gland and all that stuff. But that's the more scientific discussion. I'm just talking about the emotional and mental and social aspects of empaths and narcissists. Narcissists love nothing better than to get one over on somebody, to be deceiving somebody, manipulating them, cheating on them, stealing from them without them realizing it, or whatever the case may be, while at the same time getting them to feel like they're buddy-buddy friends. That's what they love to do. They want to be getting one over. They want to be grifters. You know, they want to be Ocean's 11. They want to be some, you know, getting away with it, bad guy, bad boy, bad girl. For whatever reason. Not all. There are narcissists who play by social rules, but they'll totally screw you in court, or they'll, you know, backstab you in ways that are not technically illegal or horribly immoral or wrong, though. There's a lot of those in business. I believe there's a lot of narcissists in the police force, the military, because it's rank and file. So anywhere that your subordinates are required to respect you, and the only qualification is, you know, seniority. And well, that's what the narcissist like dream is there. Just like Facebook is. So they can keep everything separate and keep the group separate. They love the rank and file structure so that they know who's under them and they know who's above them. And narcissists are perfectly willing to, you know, do what they have to do for their superiors, and they expect their underlings to do the same. So, you know, if the sergeant says, you know, slob the knob, private, why do you think we call you private? You bet that the narcissist private is going to be slobbing the knob, and then he maybe not liking it, but he'll do it anyway, because he doesn't care. He wants to get that promotion and be in charge and get into the position of the drill sergeant who gets to go around ordering people. And that's how MK Ultra works. You know, trauma-based mind control. Narcissists engage in trauma-based mind control. They create trauma situations, sadness, or disruption. Still going in. And so sometimes it will be something that you're joined in together with your narcissist, your partner, whatever, where they, you know, have to suffer along with you, and it, you know, makes you feel a bond to them because you went through this trial together. Well, they don't really care about it, but it makes you feel bonded to them and closer, and so you're more controlled at that point. So, you know, they might set that up a few different times, or you know, have some traumatic thing in their life, and they'll hype it up to, like, make it as if they're really upset and traumatized. And then you can rescue them or whatever, and they'll be so thankful and make you feel closer and make it feel like you've really moved on to some next level. And now, you know, you're going to start getting that close bond with empath seeks, because they can just sense the person needs love, but that person doesn't sense that at all. That person does need love. That's why the empath sense is so strong, because they're devoid of it. They don't love themselves, they don't love anything, and all the world is just a big barter system, and there is no right or wrong relative except for what is compared to the people around you. So, you know, if everybody's looking, doing it, then it's okay if I do it, no matter what it is. And that's how narcissists operate. And empaths seem to have their own set of rules. You know, I'm not saying an empath is some perfect saint person who's never going to think anything wrong or immoral or illegal. But an empath will have like a limit on those things, and it's not based on what people around them are doing. It's based on what they feel is something they could live with or not, and acceptable or not. Take that for what it's worth. Anyways, I'm going to end this now before I run out of time or memory or something, and I may be rambling, so I think I'll come back to the topic again later. Feels like a good run through a little practice run here. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.